Hello and welcome to my thoughts on the Best Picture Oscar, winner for Best Picture, Green Book for at the 2019 Academy Awards. It won three Oscars, including Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali, who played Don Shirley, the piano player, Best Adapted Original Screenplay, and of course, the Best Picture. And of course, the film drew criticism, and or you would say controversy for, I guess, its depictions, on race and its so-called use of the white savior, narrative, to save the black guy, which, I don't really look at it that way, but even though some, I guess, people would think, of it in that way, and, and may, the film itself may draw some similarities to another similar type movie, Driving Miss Daisy, with Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy, which I never saw, but hopefully, I'll get, a chance to look at one day. But what I liked about Green Book was how, Tony Valongia, a New York City bouncer, meets, Don Shirley, who's a piano player. And, what I like about it, even though the two of them came from like different backgrounds, different, cultures, but, what I thought was pretty impressive, and I think the most important aspect was how the two of them became like unlikely best friends, which is a true story. And the two of them remained good friends until the two of them died within months apart back in 2013. And of course, it's like at first Tony and Don clashed because of their like I said, different personalities, like kind of like the best way I would describe is kind of like the Felix and and Oscar, from The Odd Couple, which Don's character is like the Oscar, the Felix character. Sorry, he's all neat and all about manners and I guess image and presentation and things like that. Whereas like uh, to, um, Tony's character is more like it's like Oscar kind of like a bit sloppy and I mean a little bit more crass and a little bit more belligerent, and things like that. If that's another example to look at, but I will say that Mahershala Ali did a really good job, playing Don's character, like and the struggles he had to go through with like racism, and to kind of succeed in the white man's world, and of course you know Tony's character also went through his I guess his I don't know if I would say racism, even though the film kind of looks about like white privilege, and stuff like that, and kind of like how Tony was more like in the slums, and he kind of perceived Don is kind of like not true to himself at first, and like a phony thinking with all this prestige and fancy home and things like that. But of course, throughout the movie, as Don and I mean Tony and Don get to know each other, they reveal interesting facts about each other's life where Don is like beneath it all. It's like he's kind of like a very lonely guy who's had a marriage that came apart because of his piano career, and then of course an a strained relationship with his brother and things like that. So I would definitely say, while many people may have considered a rather odd choice to win the 2019 Best Picture at the Oscars, but I think of all the choices that were nominated, I think it may have not been the ideal choice, but I think it was one of the better ones, because I think one of the most important things that I touched upon the movie was a very character type driven film, and and like I said, two unlikely people from different backgrounds, different culture, different race, become the best of friends, which I thought was a really nice and touching thing to see. So that's that. So I would definitely say Green Book is definitely a very interesting film to look at and to see two people become friends, and I guess their own little confidants, I guess, if that's the way you would look at it. So that's that. So I'm just curious to see what other people thought about it, if they thought Green Book was a good choice to win the Best Picture, an Oscar, or do they think another movie could have won? So feel free to check out my other videos that I've done, and you can like, comment, things like that. So I just want to say Thanks again for watching, and I'll look, forward to sharing more reviews, particularly the much anticipated Captain Marvel film. Okay, everyone, thanks again.